Today we're going to be going through the business and law portion of the master's exam. Please get your handbook out that you ordered from the plumbing board from NASCLA. I've got a book that's a couple of years old. Some of y'all's may be new, some of them may be older than mine. It doesn't matter. They may be different pages, but all the information is the same. So what you need to do is get a highlighter. And we're going to go through and highlight the sections that we need to know how to find to answer the questions on our exam. Now, in this book, as we're going to go through, once again, I said highlight. You cannot write in your book. You can tab it and you can highlight it, but you can't have anything written in it. Okay? I'm going to try to go through this as fast as we can because I know you're going to get bored. This isn't the best late night reading. But anyway, chapter 1, we're going to skip totally. There's not really anything in there we need to worry about as far as test questions. Go to chapter 2, which should be choosing your business structure. If it's not chapter 2 in your book, it should be though. Find choosing your business structure. What we're going to look at, what we want to highlight is our different types of businesses. The first one is sole proprietorship, which is one person in business. Under that, we want to look down till you find liability, which is personal liability for all actions undertaken. That we want to highlight that. Now, next thing we're going to is partnerships. Partnership, 2 people. Read down until you find where it says, if a general partner leaves the partnership or dies, the partnership dissolves. That would be the question and the answer that we're looking for. Next thing we're going to is a C corporation. The disadvantages of a C corporation, or under this, it's key characteristics. Corporation must file income tax return and pay taxes on the profit. What they're getting into a lot with this questions about a C corp, the disadvantage is that you pay double taxation. Just remember that word, double taxation. If you look on your next page or under disadvantages, you're going to see double taxation. Highlight that. Next one we're going to is a C Corp. The difference between a C Corporation and a C Corp, C and an S Corp, excuse me. I don't have a script, guys. I'm just winging it. So if I make a mistake, sorry, deal with it. If something comes up in my head that's like a question that I remember or something else and I go off track, write it down because it's probably going to be on the test. Now, C Corp, S Corp. S Corporation pays taxes through the individual. So we don't pay corporate taxes and personal taxes. We only pay personal taxes. That's an advantage of the S Corporation. You'll see we've got a spot there. It's under limited liabilities. I hadn't really asked any questions about limited liability corporations, but if they do, this is where it is. Now keep flipping. We're not going into the fee schedules. Joint ventures. The only thing they've ever asked about joint ventures, and I'm a couple of pages over, I'm on page 2.8, is that if you're going into a joint venture, you and somebody else, they have asked questions about, do both parties need to be licensed? It depends on how they ask the question. If you have any questions about some of the things we're talking about, jot them down, bring them to the seminar, we'll go through them. Also, during the seminar, I'm going to have a very short practice test provided for you so you can see how some of these business and law questions are written and how to answer them. Now, let's see, don't need any of that. Go to chapter 3, or it's chapter 3 in my book, Become Licensed by the Louisiana State Plumbing Board. Okay. First thing we want to highlight is the State Plumbing Board consists of 8 members. That's a very possible question. Then flip the page. When is a contractor license needed? Okay. First thing we have is master plumber. It gives you the definition of a master plumber, one who has the necessary qualifications and knowledge to plan and lay out plumbing systems. Highlight that. Below that, journeyman plumber. Journeyman plumber must perform work under the supervision of a licensed master plumber. Highlight that. Now, while we're talking about this, They're probably going to ask you how many master plumbers can a company have? A company can only have one master plumber with an active license. If they're more than one master plumber working for a company, they have to put their license in the inactive status. Then down to journeyman plumbers, question they usually ask, and it's right under there, apprentice plumber. A journeyman plumber can only supervise one apprentice, so he can only have one helper. Highlight that under the apprentice plumber. The next page over, licensing process. The application must be submitted to the board 30 days prior, so they have to have 30 days lead time. On this same page, you'll see a little highlighted box here, a dotted box. It says under supporting documentation for the master plumber, provide proof of insurance. There's a question, and they ask you, how much liability insurance does a master plumber have to have? The answer is not 100,000, not 30,000, not $1 million. The answer is 0. The master plumber does not have to have insurance. The employing entity has to have insurance. That's the company he's working for. Master plumber does not have to have the insurance, the employing entity does. Now flip over again, license renewals. Every license expires on December 31st every year. Under that also we have the master plumber and the journeyman plumber. They have your hours for continuing ed. You need to highlight those two. Now we're going to go on to chapter 4, which is managing risk, which is insurance. Now we're going to have insurance and bond questions on the test. Remember, if you have a question about something that we're talking about, don't understand it, jot yourself a note, bring it to the seminar. For those of you who are watching the thing for free and you're not coming to the seminar, but you watch it because somebody told you where the website was, that's fine, but it's not going to help you pass parts 1 and 2. So anyway, insurance. This is a crazy one. Go to your second page or find inland marine equipment theft insurance. This is inland marine, this type of property insurance you can buy for your equipment. It provides coverage for goods, this is what we want to highlight, provides coverage for goods in transit and projects under construction. Never bought any of that, but it's a good possibility of a test question. Now, under that, workman's compensation. It is required by law. That's a question. Who pays for workman's compensation? The employer. You can't deduct any of that from the employee's check. If you look down below that, you can highlight all employers must provide workman's compensation for their employees at no cost to the employee. That means the contractor pays it, does not deduct it from his check, and it's the only insurance required by law. Flip over, they've asked questions before. If you flip the page, you find key man life insurance. This is, the question will usually be dealing with a partnership. What would be a good type of insurance to buy for each partner? If one of them dies, then the answer would be key man insurance, because that would cover the cost to dissolve the company or cover things if one of them dies. Now, next page over. I'm on types of bonds. Got 3 basic types of bond. We have a bid bond. I want you to highlight that. That guarantees that the contractor is going to enter into a contract for the amount he bid. The next one we have is a performance bond. Highlight that one. That guarantees a contractor will complete a contract within its time frame and conditions. Remember, he's going to complete it within the time frame. Payment bond is a guarantee to subcontractors and suppliers they will be paid for their work. Now, also in some of the newer books, there is what's called a lien bond. It's in a different page in this book. When we get to it, we'll highlight it, but they've been asking a question about it of what could be done to protect a project from having a lien filed on it, and it's going to be by a lien bond. Okay, going through a bunch of stuff here. Louisiana Revised Statutes, don't really need anything here. Remember, we're only going to highlight stuff we need. We don't need to read the whole book, but please Take the time to read the highlighted sections and understand when you're looking for questions. For instance, if it's about insurance or a bond, I'll be in Chapter 4, or risk management. That's what you need to get used to doing so you can pass the test. And we're going to keep going. All this, don't need it, don't need it, don't need it. Still in Chapter 4, whole bunch of stuff, don't need. Let's go all the way to Chapter 5. Also, during the seminar, I'll go through some extra things that we're not going to cover in the video, but we'll take that up during the seminar. Now, Chapter 5, your business toolbox. Boring, boring, boring. Delegation, business ethics, you shouldn't cheat on your bids, that type of thing. Nothing here really that we need. All I'm talking about is we need for the exam. About the only thing you could look under Small Business Association, SBA, and it provides good tools and help to start your business. Other than that, Chapter 5 is basically a bust on the test. We don't need it. Chapter 6, once again, a whole lot of stuff we don't need. Marketing, plan, and sales, nope, not on the test. Public relations, no. Haven't ever asked that on the test that I know of, but remember, if they do, this is the chapter we would go to. Now this question they have, but it's not really about what they ask, but it has communication. All of our communications during the contract portion should be in writing. That came to mind. So anytime we're doing a contract, it can be oral, but it's best to have it in writing. Any communication is best in writing. A change order needs to be in writing. Remember those things. That was a question about communication. How should it be? It should be in writing. Okay, Chapter 7, bidding and estimating. Bid documents, first page. Included in your bid documents, highlight this: invitation to bid, the bid instructions, and the bid forms. Now, they have asked what would be included in the bid documents before. This would be those three. Okay? So, what would not be included in the bid documents? How about a change order? Change orders come after the contract signed. Addendum comes before, and an addendum would be in the bid documents because it's a change before the contract. Otherwise, those three things we need to look for. And flip your page and you'll see what we just talked about, addendums. If changes are made to the bid package before it is due, an addendum is issued. Remember, addendum is before the contract, change orders after the contract. Those two things you need to know. What else have we got? Estimating. Don't really ask a lot of questions about estimating. Subcontractor fees, project equipment, equipment rental, nah. Go all the way over in my book. It's page 7-6. We're going to talk about, this is something that we need to know, and this goes along with bidding and estimating, is the two different types of overhead we have. We have project overhead, which is on the job site overhead. We have company overhead. You will probably get a question that says, which of the following is not job overhead or project overhead? If you look down here under project overhead, you see the types of things that will be listed that are assigned directly to the project. Now, as far as company overhead, we have things like office rent, accounting fees, taxes, telephone, legal fees. So one of those things wouldn't be attributed to a specific job. That would be attributed to the things that we have to pay all the time to keep the office open. So highlight those two things: project overhead, company overhead. Now, next page over, markup and profit margin. I want you to look in your book, and if you have a really old book, it may say 5%. If you look under markup and margins, it says the standard industry markup is 15%. They more than likely could have a question may or may not have it. What is the standard industry markup on construction jobs? Your answer should be 15%. Don't put what you would like to make, which is more than 15%, put what the book says. All through this test, we're going to put whatever the book says, whether we agree with it or not. When we get into the seminar and we start looking at things in our code book, we're going to put on our test, the answer to the test is what's in the code book, not what we do every day, not what our inspectors tell us we have to do every day on the job. It's what's in the code book. The same with this business and law exam. It's not that difficult of a test. You can pass it. If you've got these things highlighted and or tabbed, tab's not a bad idea, but you write something on the tab that would signal you of what you're looking for. You can write anything you want on the tabs, and you'll be able to find it. Find it in the book quickly is the best thing, is what you need to learn. Like I said, you don't have to read the whole book, but these things we're marking, please take the time to read those so that you'll be prepared. Now let's flip over. Keep going. All right, let's go away to contract management. That is chapter 8 in my book. Just look for the chapter that's entitled contract management. If we're going too fast, pause your equipment. Just stop the tape, catch up, take a break. Don't have mama bring you a beer. We can't be drinking and driving on the test, and this is our driving portion. So, let's take our time, go through here. Okay, under contract management, required contract elements. This is an old question, comes up all the time. The 3 things we need to constitute a contract are offer, acceptance, and consideration. And you'll see that there in your code book. You need to highlight that. Now go on, negotiations, nope. Nope. Progress payments and retainage. Look in your book, couple of pages there till you find, first thing, progress payments. Progress payments are made during the job. As you go along, you'll get a payment. Out of that progress payment comes a retainage. It's an amount that they hold back until you've totally completed your job. Now, retainage is generally 10%. That's a test question. About progress payments, they may basically ask you what the definition of it is, and it says it'll be what type of payments are partial payments are made after specific phases of the work are completed. That would be the definition of that. We need to have that highlighted, that and the retainage. Let's go to the next page, or find where it says in big letters, breach of contract. We have 2 types of breaches. We have a material breach, which is a very serious thing, and we have an immaterial breach, which is a less serious thing. I want you to highlight those 2. A material breach would be you didn't get your paycheck. That is a material breach by the owner for not paying you. At that time, if a material breach is contracted or happens, you can stop work off the job. If an immaterial breach, which all they do is say it's a less serious violation. Other words, let's say that your contractor didn't bring your check out at 9 o'clock, he brought it out at 12 o'clock. That would be technically an immaterial breach, but you can't walk off and leave the job. Okay, just remember those 2, highlight them. Material breach, very bad. Immaterial breach, little bitty. Now, the next page over, we have 3 types of contracts. We have a lump sum contract, a unit price contract, and a cost plus contract. I want you to highlight these. Lump sum, very simple. It means that you're going to do the job for this total amount of money. Everything, end of story. A unit price contract. That would be a contract that you enter into where, for instance, you're going to supply or install lavatories. You're going to install a lavatory at $110. So let's say the general contractor says, okay, I'm going to give you a contract You're going to install laboratories at $110. I'll tell you how many we're going to install, or look on the plans how many it is. That's a unit price. You're not doing it for a fixed amount. You're doing it at a price per unit or per item. Now, cost plus. This is the kind of contract everybody wants, okay? Because all you do is turn in all your bills and add to it for your profit and your overhead. Cost plus is exactly what it says. Whatever it costs you plus some extra money. They don't give these out a whole lot, but a government job will be the same thing. It's cost plus because you can just always tell the government, oh, I messed up, they'll give you more money. Those are 3 types of contracts. Make sure they're highlighted, and we can come back into them our book. Now flip the page or look to see where you see fast track construction. They ask a question about this, and they'll say, what type of job, or what would you call a project that begins before the construction documents are completed? In other words, you start work before you even have a signed contract, or all the addendums aren't out, or the specifications aren't filled up. You start beforehand, before everything's complete. That's going to be called fast track construction. Now remember this same page, highlight change order. Remember we already said that an addendum happens before the contract is signed. An addendum is included in the bid package. A change order happens after the contract. That's the only 2 things we need to know to differentiate those two. Addendum is before, change order is after our contract. I want you to highlight that. Now, next page over, find the big writing here that says, are oral agreements legally binding? The answer is yes. Oral agreements are binding, but they're difficult to prove. That will be the question and basically the answer to it. We always need to get change orders in writing. Another question. We need to have communications about different aspects of the job. Once again, best to be put in writing. Even though oral agreements are legal, they are legally binded, they're difficult to approve. I'm not just repeating myself to hear myself talk, because I do not like doing this. I don't like being on camera. I'm repeating this so it'll stick in your head, because these are the questions or the answers to the questions that I'm repeating. My whole goal is for y'all to pass the exam. I'm not trying to make you a smarter plumber or a better businessman. That's going to be up to you. But what I'm trying to do, what you're paying me for, is to pass the test. So you have to put up with me now for about 30 minutes listening to me repeat things. Okay. Take a big break. Whew. Okay, break's over. Go to my book is chapter 9, scheduling and project management. Okay, you're definitely going to have a couple of questions out of this chapter. Chapter 9 in my book may be a different chapter in yours, but the title is still the same, scheduling and project management. Now, we have 3 types of scheduling methods, and they should be right there on your first page. We have calendar scheduling, bar chart, and critical path. The least of which, being effective-wise, is calendar. Then we have bar chart, and then we have critical path. And we're going to highlight those 3, and we're going to flip the page, and we're going to say a couple of things that would come up in the question. For instance, under bar chart, I want you to highlight that first paragraph, because here's what they would ask. Which type of scheduling procedure shows the activity, duration, and sequence of tasks? Now, most of their answers are going to be verbatim out of the book, just like it's written there. In other words, which of the following scheduling procedures shows the activity, duration, and sequence of tasks? That would make it a bar chart. That's why we need to know where to look for this, so that we can match these words to our question and our answer. So I want you to highlight that. Once again, remember on the other page, the sample calendar schedule is the most inaccurate, the worst one for you to use. I've only seen one question that included this, and they said, which of the following is not an example of job scheduling? They had calendar, bar chart, critical path, and daily. So daily is not an example of those three, and that would have been the answer to that question. Now flip over till we get critical path method. Now what you're looking for to answer the question that's going to come up about critical path scheduling, once again, these same words. I want you to highlight this section under critical path. Critical path method of scheduling illustrates the independent relationships of tasks. Remember those words. Independent relationships of tasks. In other words, how the tasks depend on each other. But that's what you need to know to answer the question where the answer is going to be critical path. Also, the same thing, look right up under there. It's got critical path in a little smaller, darker letters. They will take this first sentence and make a different question out of it. The critical path is the sequence of tasks that determines the duration of the project. Okay? First one was, remember, scheduling illustrates the interdependent relationships. Those are key words for critical path. Also, key words for critical path, sequence of tasks that determines the duration of the project. Okay? Make sure we have those highlighted. Now, I'm talking too fast, so I've got to take a short break. I'm going to pause it. You won't know, but just hang on.